3, 2, and 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Faces of First Year. We are so excited to have you joining us this afternoon. And if this is your first time watching a Faces of First Year broadcast, it is brought to you by Pima Community College's First Year Experience Program, which I have the pleasure of hosting. And the goal of this program is to get Pima's new students connected with the college and the key resources that especially matter to you. And so today we are featuring PimaPost, which is the college's newspaper publication. And we have a great specialist here who is ready to tell you everything that you need to know about the PimaPost. So we're going to get started with some introductions. For those of you who I have not yet met, my name is Renee Forsyth. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And again, I lead the First Year Experience Program at Pima. I'm going to pass the mic over to Kayla.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Butler. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am a peer mentor under Renee.
Kayla, I think you are on mute, if you don't mind.
It's not showing that I'm muted. Can you hear me now?
There you go. I think we're good now.
Okay, that's so weird. Okay, my name is Kayla Butler. Gotta have that mute problem once in a while. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a peer mentor under Renee in the First Year Experience Program.
And do I go? Sorry. And I'm Valerie Vinyard. I am I'm a journalism and writing instructor for Pima. And I'm also the advisor of the PimaPost, which is our online news publication that we put out.
Thank you. And do you have anyone else who works in the department with you?
Oh, yeah. We've got a business manager named Josh Manus. He is my right-hand man. He makes sure that all the video and camera equipment get out and checked out to the various people and basically keeps me sane.
I love it. It takes a village, right?
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. And is it just the two of you who operate the paper, or are there students who also contribute?
Yes. So there's a class. It's called Journalism 185. And then there's also Journalism 285. There's news publication and advanced news publication. Normally you need a prereq of Journalism 101, but if you just come to me or call me and I'll say, yeah, you're in. I've had lots of people who haven't taken Journalism 101 and then interestingly end up loving it so much that then they end up going to ASU or U of A and getting a degree in journalism. You just never know until you give it a try.
I love that advice.
But I'm sorry. So in the class, we have usually around 10 people that contribute stories, things that they're interested in. The cool thing about something like the PimaPost is it doesn't have to just be straight news stories. Of course we can do all those, but you could do poetry if you want. You could draw if you want to be like a cartoonist, an editorial cartoonist. If you want to be a photographer and submit a lot of photos, you could cover live sports. We've done rallies, all sorts of things. Or you could just do portraits and other interesting things. And then, of course, we have the people who love to review movies. And we have a deal with the Loft where actually we have a person this semester and he goes to the Loft all the time and writes about and reviews movies that appear for free. And we also get into concerts and, of course, sporting events and cover those things too. And say there's a new restaurant, you want to go review that, you can do that too. It's not free, but you can still do that.
Super fun.
That's awesome. So the PimaPost it's a newspaper, or is it like a journal that people contribute to?
Okay, so we started out, it used to be called decades ago, until recently, it was called the Aztec Press, and it was a regular old form newspaper printed. We printed out 5,000 copies every other week. It was bi-weekly. And then the pandemic hit and we had an online presence, but now we're just PimaPost.com. We also underwent the name change because we figure it's only a matter of time before the Aztecs are no longer. So I think we're ahead of the curve and we're PimaPost and we're at PimaPost.com. We don't actually have any hard copies anymore.
Okay, makes sense. kind of.
I'm sorry. It's no longer a bi-weekly either. I put up stories as soon as they're done. We don't want to be waiting just for, oh, well, it's not publication day yet. So it's kind of this ever evolving piece of media.
Okay, that's cool. That's awesome. If you had to call your resource, the PimaPost, a tool, what would you say that it would be?
Well, I always like to defer to a corkscrew because my last name's Vinyard, and I don't know if you know, but journalists like their wine a lot of times. That doesn't mean you have to drink. We've plenty of teetotalers, but it's always fun. So that's not practical though. So I also am very practical, and journalism sometimes can be practical and informative as well. It should be. So I also like, let's say, a Leatherman, or one of those all you can do like 20 different things with one little tool.
Multi-tools.
Yeah, multi-tool, because media are supposed to do that. They're supposed to entertain you, inform you, warn you, help you, all those things.
That's cool. Awesome.
Very clever. I like it. And some of those Leathermans include the wine opener. So I think that you're great with those points.
Yeah.
All right. So what is it? Is there a myth or a stigma around PimaPost or just college papers in general that you would want to debunk?
A lot, and let's get back just briefly to the fake news thing. Sometimes people think, especially if the PimaPost or other college newspapers or even high school newspapers, that they are servants of their school, that they can get censored. Actually, according to the Supreme Court, high schools can get censored, but colleges cannot. So we have never, in the 5 years I've been advisor, we have never had somebody approach us and ask us not to run something or try to not make us or let us run something. Never. And we have definitely written some not so nice things about people, and I mean, true, but not necessarily very complimentary things about the college or some of the faculty or whatever.
But for a purpose, in order to help.
Not because we have a vendetta.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's informative, and our money is going toward tuition, so I would think that you would want to know where your money's going sometimes.
Well, and in the first year experience program, we also talk about adulting, regardless of where you're at on that age spectrum of whether you're a young adult or a seasoned adult. But I think that's part of adulting, if you will, is being informed of, your community and around you, so that then you can also make sure it's as good of a community as possible, including your college.
Right.
Makes sense. Thank you.
I know you kind of mentioned that the publication is now online and you kind of post kind of sporadically when stories come up. But that being said, when does the resource become open and available to students? Do you have like an office they can come see you in? Like, how does that all go together?
All right. So we have a newsroom, and it still has the old Aztec Press, because that building, which is the Santa Catalina building in the West Campus, it's building C, that is going to, they're going to move J building, which is where most of communications is, into where nursing is in the next few years. So they're going to hope to move the old Aztec Press PimaPost to also the building where nursing is. So it doesn't really make sense to do all the signage, but it's CG17. It's an awesome room. It's on the ground floor. It's near the cafeteria. Not that we eat all the time, but food's always good. But it's also, we've got a microwave. Again, this is all about food. Now we have a mini fridge. We have a copy machine. We have all Macintosh or Apple computers. Sorry, I'm from the 80s. Macintosh, and it's just a really cool room. If you're a member of the class, you can come. It's keyless entry. You can come in and just chill out or do work or whatever, even if you're not, the class isn't meeting. Our class meets Tuesdays and Thursdays afternoons, 2:15 to 4 about. So we're always going to be there then. But, we're pretty available, and we're always checking our media pages, our emails, our social media, all that stuff too.
Going along with that, how do you have to be in one of the classes in order to submit stories to you that can be posted, or can anybody kind of submit things?
Yeah, we'll actually have faculty. We had a guy named Jerry Gill. He taught for years and years at Pima. He used to write just, I want to say religiously, but it wasn't religious, but he wrote a lot of columns for us. And he never had anything to do with the class. So yeah, if you just want to come in and you're like, hey, I want to review this concert or this movie, or I want to write a column about how I think, I had a student once say that the Dallas Cowboys were going to win the Super Bowl. And that was about 3 years ago. And it didn't quite happen, but I said, sure, if you want to write a column that they're going to win the Super Bowl, go for it. Anything, we welcome any sort of writing. Obviously we will edit it and stuff, and we'll work with you, but you don't have to be in the class. But the class is definitely a lot of fun. It does transfer to all 3 universities, just in case you care about that. And it is a class that you can take multiple times. You can take both of them up to 3 times each. And I've had students I haven't had 6 total, but I've had several students take it a total of 4 times.
Oh, that's really cool. For them to submit things or get in contact with you with wanting to submit something, how do they do that? Do you have an email, a website, any social media, anything like that?
Probably best if they just want to reach out to me. So I'm Valerie Vinyard, and I'm sure it'll be available, but it's VINYARD at pima.edu. We do all the social media too. And of course we do have our PimaPost email, but it's because we get so much stuff. It's just better to reach right out to me, and I'll be able to see it and answer to it a lot quicker.
For convenience, I did share all of that contact information with links in the chat. And then for those of you who are watching this in replay, it'll also be in the title description for the video. Beautiful. Well, I was always the student in school who asked why. Why this? Why this? I wanted to understand. So tell me, why should students tell their friends about PimaPost? Why does PimaPost matter to them?
Well, I think if you have any connection to Pima, you're going to want to read at least some of the things on it, because we are covering things that you're not going to find anywhere else. It's kind of like the only newspapers nowadays in this country that are still making a ton of money, and I'm saying like 30-40% profits, are weekly community newspapers like the Green Valley News or the Saurita Sun. It's because they're covering things, yes, on a much smaller scale, but you probably know those people, or you at least are aware of it. And it's kind of cool that, wow, we made the news on this. And sometimes our stuff gets picked up, and say the Arizona Daily Star or KOLD, they'll look at it and they'll be like, oh, that's an idea we're going to pursue too, but we got it first. So it is, you're definitely getting stories that you wouldn't find anywhere else. But the cool thing is we also can I talk about the AP Wire? All right. So this year was the first year that the dean gave us permission to subscribe to the Associated Press Newswire. And the AP Newswire is super expensive. They give us a break and we're smaller and stuff, and we don't have access to all of the stories, but it is a bunch of stories we get every day, nationally, internationally, that we can pull and post with, what we pay for. Like, for example, the Arizona Daily Star, which is our morning daily newspaper here. Back when I was working there as an editor, I believe I heard that it was $250,000 a year to subscribe to the AP Newswire. Of course, it's not nearly that for us, but I mean, you get in a point where it's like, there have been newspapers trying not to subscribe, but it's really hard when they can't talk about Ukraine, or they can't send somebody to England or any of these places. They can even barely afford to send somebody maybe to Phoenix. So how are they going to send somebody to New York or DC? So the AP Wire is really essential, and it's so cool that now we have that resource too. There was just, I forget. Interesting. I just posted this yesterday. Those little Grubhub like robots that they just deliver at the U of A campus. They like crazily deliver things without people. They just got offline because they have Russia ties. So there was only two universities in the country, and it was U of A was one of them that used this. And now we don't have it right now because Russia, So yeah, so that was on the AP Wire, and that was something we weren't aware of. So it was pretty cool. We got to put that on.
That's interesting. You were also mentioning earlier about how one of your students received a scholarship in response for one of their stories, right? Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Amaris, she was an editor about a year before the pandemic. And then she was going to U of A to get her journalism degree. She had written a story, a fairly investigative piece about how our tuition money was going toward certain things that maybe weren't necessarily the best, like travel and stuff that you're like, why isn't it going more toward stuff about students? So she did this kind of investigative story, and she did a bunch of interviews, and she ended up getting $1,000. And she used that partly to go to U of A. But just for one story, she got $1,000. I've never gotten that, but that's pretty cool.
Well, and I like a point that you made earlier about how no matter where you look, if you read and digest information, that's media, that's journalism, and it's important.
I mean, if you watch a movie, if you read a book, if you watch a commercial on TV, that's all media. You just think, oh, media is newspapers and magazines. It's all that, anything you read pretty much. And you think, oh, the printed word is dead. Well, they don't just go on TV without writing up what they want to write and talk about first. And online, they're still writing it. You just are reading it on your phone and not pulling out a newspaper and getting your hands dirty. So it's media. They're going to be around for quite a while, I think. I mean, if not, we're going to fall apart. So it's really cool. And what I like to tell my students is, somebody says, well, I don't know if I like media, or why should I do media? And I said, the cool thing about media is you learn a little bit about everything, but a lot about nothing. So you can hold your own in any conversation. I could talk about the Ukraine. I could talk about politics. I could talk about taxes. I can also talk about Aquafina. I could talk about the Oscars, everything, because you just learn all these little things, and it's really cool. So,
or the dead bugs at West Campus. There is a recent story about that, right?
Yeah, that was last semester. Yes, very much. There were a lot of dead bugs on West Campus, and we were like, why are there all these dead bugs around the doorways? So we looked into it and found out, and they weren't deadly, so we didn't have to worry so much.
Good. Or even, we'll get the text alerts of campus is closed or classes canceled for something. But PimaPost helps share the behind the scenes story, like with what just happened at the J building, correct?
Right. We had a leak earlier, like about 5 days ago, and I work in the J building, and my classes are there. And so the second floor didn't have classes that day. And so I sent one of my reporters to look into it, and somebody had left the water on all night. And so they canceled a bunch of classes. It ended up costing thousands of dollars. And that stuff, I would be interested to know, like, oh, wow, why did that happen? Is that person getting punished? What's happening? Just stuff. It's kind of cool because you get to find stuff out and then you get to tell people about it. And I don't know, I always like finding stuff out first.
Kayla, are there any other questions or things you want to say, especially from the student perspective as a peer mentor?
I don't think so, but thank you for sharing with us, because I've been at Pima for a while. I mean, I took a few years off, but I've been going. I started in 2012. So I've been going to Pima for a while, and this is the first semester that I've ever heard of the PimaPost. So I think that it's important for us to start getting these resources out to students, especially new students. I've never particularly myself been interested in journalism, just because I'm not very good at researching, which is not good for being in college, but I'm getting better. But I had a cousin who got a full scholarship to a really awesome university in New York, and then she was doing journalist stories for the New York Times, and like knowing that someone can get that awesome at journalism and you can even start at a community college like this, I think is super duper important for students.
Right.
So I appreciate you, sharing everything.
Well, thank you. No, so one more thing. U of A loves Pima journalism students. I get calls every year, right around about a month or so. I'll get them from editors or like various editors from around the area and say, hey, I need interns. Do you have anyone you'd recommend? And then they're paying internships and they pay well, and you get clips and you get to have a fun time. And they always go to us first, because they just think we do such a good job at starting out and giving a good base for, people who want to be in the media, whether it's on TV, radio, online, or on print. So it's pretty cool. I didn't quite realize, I'm from Ohio and I went to college in Chicago. So, I didn't have any of this, but I've lived here 21 years and this is definitely, I think this is a really good thing to be involved with. And then last thing, sorry, I like to talk. The other thing is you say, well, journalism is dying. I don't want to be a journalist. Well, I'm on my third career with a journalism degree, and I've never had to go back to school or extra classes or anything. And so I've been a journalist. I still freelance, so I'm still a journalist. Then I did PR. I was a spokeswoman for AAA Arizona, the Auto Club, for 5 years. And then I've been a teacher now. I'm starting my 5th year full time, writing and journalism. And I've done it all without having to get more skills. So there's just so many things you can do with a major like journalism. So anyway.
There's diversity in the career field. That's really good to know. Oh, well, thank you so much, Valerie, for your time and your expertise that you shared with us today. For anyone who is watching us live, thank you for joining us. For those of you who are watching in replay, if you have a question that maybe we weren't able to address in this broadcast, please feel free to reach out either to Valerie directly. Again, that email is shared in the chat, as well as the description for this post above. Or you're also welcome to throw a comment down below, and we will make sure to get that direct question fielded to the correct person. If you liked what you watched today, please make sure that you hit that like button below and subscribe so that you can see our future Faces of First Year vodcasts. And we will be doing this again on Friday, April 1st at 1:30, where we will be talking to you about the cyber warfare range at Pima Community College. Until then, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will see you around at another First Year Experience event. Take care and keep striving.